For more analysis, of course, we want to turn to our very own Batya Ungar-Sargon. You know her as the host of NewsNation's Batya. Batya, thank you so much for making the time tonight.
Of course, Natasha. Thank you so much for having me.
You just tuned into the interview with the lawyer representing Renee Good's family here. What are your immediate thoughts following this interview?
It was a very good example of the divide that we're seeing. So the left and the right see these killings in very different ways. You have the left-wing narrative, which is that these two people, Renee Good and Alex Pretti, did nothing wrong, that they were out there defending innocent people in a completely nonviolent way and were murdered for standing up for the vulnerable. And then you have the right-wing version of it, exemplified by the administration, which is that these two people were domestic terrorists who had come out in order to do violence. And I think that the truth of the matter, Natasha, is somewhere right in the middle. Obviously, both Renee Good and Alex Pretti believed that they were doing the right thing, that they were standing up for vulnerable, innocent people, when in fact what they were doing was impeding law enforcement trying to detain violent criminals. And in the case of Alex Pretti specifically, what you saw was the gun get taken away from him, and then the president alluded to the specific gun that it was, the SIG P320, perhaps possibly discharged, and then the officers there thought that they were being attacked and they shot him, just like in the case of Renee Good, where she actually did strike the ICE officer with her car. And of course, when it comes to whether a shooting is justified or not, the question at stake is whether the law enforcement officer thought that their life was in danger. And I think in both of these cases, you can see that that was a very reasonable interpretation. Now, that said, Natasha, the administration coming out and calling these people terrorists, I really think that that is unjustifiable. I think the president is not happy about it. We had this Wall Street Journal interview where he said, let's wait and see, basically. He would not come out and say whether he supported the agent. And I just think that in this moment, it is so important that as Americans, we take them the temperature. Now, I also don't think that we can say that it would be appropriate to immediately withdraw ICE as a result of this backlash, because of course, the majority of Americans continue to support mass deportation, and the vast majority of Americans continue to support deporting criminals. And so it cannot be the case that mass violent protests would then undermine the will of the people who voted for this. So of course, the truth, as we always say on News Nation, is in that place where reasonable Americans can meet from left and from right.
So Batya, I do want to take a moment to talk about the independent autopsy. We see Good was shot 3 times, grazed a 4th time. The government is adamant that these were defensive shots because she was trying to ram the officer with her car. Do you believe that every time that officer pulled the trigger, it was justified?
You know, I think for us who are not in law enforcement, we say, okay, well, why couldn't you have shot in the leg? Why couldn't he have shot the tire of the wheel? Why couldn't they have just shot once? Alex Pretti, it looks like he was shot 10 times and he didn't have the gun. The gun had been removed. Why 10 times? The directive is to shoot to kill, unfortunately, when somebody is in danger. You don't know when you shoot somebody just to wound them. I mean, they could just as easily then keep going and keep attacking. And so I think the laws of engagement, unfortunately, tragically, do determine that if you're going to take that shot, you shoot to kill. So I'm not surprised that that's unfortunately what the autopsy found. It doesn't really change the situation, which is that this was what they call a bad shoot, which doesn't mean it's unjustified. It just means it's terribly, terribly tragic.
Batya Ungar-Sargon, host of News Nation's Batya, appreciate your time and the analysis tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. God bless.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.